bet you all have wondered at least once as to why the Jews are hated so much. Why did the world turn their backs on the Jews? Why are they globally shunned? Welcome back to our channel, Global Headlines Hub, where we are going to analyze and understand the historical and contemporary perspective of anti-Semitism. While the Nazi genocide stands as the apex of historical anti-Semitism, this haunting legacy stretches back through ages. What exactly is anti-Semitism? The German journalist Wilhelm Marr came up with this term anti-Semitism, and Google defines it best. It means hostility to or prejudice against the Jews. This entire notion revolves around the fact that Jews are mistreated just because they are Jews. In ancient times, when the Jews had to share the society with the Romans, the situation was no better. While the Romans prayed to multiple gods, Jews were monotheists and only prayed to one. Even the religious and cultural differences of the Jews were drastically different. All eyes were upon the Jews, whose tradition was to avoid intermarriage. Additionally, the circumcision of the Jewish children and the practice of Sabbath were frowned upon by people of all other cultures and ethnicities. Here, we are not talking about slight differences in cultures that could have been overlooked, but colossal differences that made all the other cultures insecure. Yes, you heard me right. This low-key feeling of Judaism being superior, along with the Jewish way of life, more or less is the reason for the hatred against the Jews till today. As per the records in classical sources, the politician and lawyer Cicero have clearly admitted that how Jews always were stuck together and were undoubtedly influential in informal assemblies. Also, the Roman poet and satirist Juvenal judged the Jews to be drunken and rowdy. Many great powers back then, such as the Tiberius and the Hadrian, tried to prohibit Jewish cultures and practices, but the Jews fought back with equal force. They were loyal to their faith and showed even more resilience when attempts were made to sabotage their culture. It would be only fair to say that the Romans and all other ethnicities felt it best to kill and abandon the Jews instead of surrendering to their firm determination. It was just the beginning. Things turned for the worse post the crucifixion of Jesus that happened during the Roman occupation of Jerusalem in the 1st century CE. Though historical accounts suggest that the Jewish authorities may have been involved in Jesus' arrest, the crucifixion itself was a Roman method of execution. Unfortunately, throughout the history, misguided interpretations of Christian scriptures led to harmful stereotypes and scapegoating of Jews, fostering anti-Semitic sentiments. The cause of the Black Death was no different. There is absolutely no historical evidence that shows the link between the Jews and the unfortunate death of the blacks. A devastating pandemic swept across Europe in the 14th century, leading to the death of millions that was transmitted through fleas. Baselessly, the Jews were accused of trying to kill the blacks by purposely poisoning the wells or by meticulously spreading the plague. In the Middle Ages, particularly in medieval Europe, it was believed that the Jews used the blood of Christian children for their religious rituals, for making matzah and unleavened bread for Passover. This is what came to be known as the blood libel that attempted to demonize and dehumanize the Jewish communities. The early narrative of blood libel accusations took shape with the discovery of the dead body of a young boy named William, who was stabbed to death in the woods. The Jews of Norwich in England were charged with ritual murder in the year 1144. The Dreyfus affair had quite similar outbursts. In the late 19th century France, Captain Alfred Dreyfus, a Jewish officer, was falsely accused of treason, of passing military secrets to the Germans. This affair then became a focal point for political and social tensions. The most heinous manifestations of anti-Semitism occurred during the World War II. After Hitler rose to power in Germany, he directed all of Germany's problems towards just one direction: the Jews. The climax of Hitler's anti-Semitic agenda was the implementation of the final solution, a systematic plan to annihilate 6 million Jews in a genocide, which then came to be known as the Holocaust. The Holocaust stands as a horrifying testimony to the consequences of unchecked Semitism, reflecting the darkest depths of human prejudice and intolerance. Confronting And dismantling anti-Semitism requires a collective commitment to education, awareness, and fostering a global culture that rejects prejudice and accepts diversity. Now the question is, will the world work actively to eradicate the seed of hatred planted in the past, or risk allowing the history to repeat itself?